Welcome to Exploring Santa Cruz, a bi-weekly program on 90.7, 89.5, and 89.7. I'm your host, Matilda Rand, and my guests are Stephanie Sumarna and Jamie Garfield. The topic of conversation is the HERStory celebration of notable women in Santa Cruz past, present, and future. Jamie Garfield is the Director of Student and Community Engagement at Lookout Santa Cruz. Within this role, she works with teachers to lead school workshops and provides easy ways for them to use local current events in their classroom. She's passionate about education, self-expression, and creativity. Stephanie Sumarna is an EdTech and innovation teacher on special assignment at the Santa Cruz County Office of Education. She is passionate about using technology in meaningful ways to amplify voices and create community. Welcome, Stephanie and Jamie.
Thanks for having us.
Yeah, thank you so much.
The topic of this program is HERStory, notable women in Santa Cruz, past and present and future. What made you choose this topic?
We chose this topic because we really believe that it's crucial to celebrate and acknowledge the contributions women have made to our community. Santa Cruz has a really rich history of female leaders, activists, innovators that have played an integral role in shaping our community's culture. And by highlighting their stories, we're hoping to inspire current and future generations, promote gender equality, and really ensure that the contributions of these women are seen and celebrated by our community.
And you agree, Jamie. Anything to add? What inspires you in this topic?
I very much agree with Stephanie. I was invited to participate in organizing this event. I've had some fantastic female leaders and mentors in Santa Cruz in my life, and I think it's fantastic to be able to uplift women who live here, who have lived here, and to inspire women growing up here.
And the future leaders.
Exactly.
Right. Now, you created, Jamie, a list of women. Can you tell us a little bit more about what Lookout is featuring in the event?
At Lookout Santa Cruz, we highlight people's stories all the time on our website. We've been around for 3 years, so a lot of those stories have been women in Santa Cruz doing remarkable things, doing notable things, making positive changes in our community. So I reached out to my staff and said, what are some of the favorite stories you've written about women? Let's find the top 15. And so all the writers in the newsroom picked their favorite stories they've written and interviews they've done. And so we compiled 15 women to highlight that we've written about. So we will be featuring those stories on our site in a couple weeks, and then we will be highlighting them at our table at the event, and it's really exciting.
Let's quickly say, when is the event?
Great question. So it's at the end. So Women's History Month is in March. The event is towards the end of the month. It's on Thursday, March 28th. It's free for anyone who wants to attend. It's at the Santa Cruz Museum of Art and History from 5:30 to 8 p.m. There will be tabling organizations like Lookout, who's helping us to organize the event, as well as guest speakers and some hands-on activities. So it's going to be a really great event.
Yeah, so we'll talk more about activities in a moment, but you have a list of 15 people that you chose. Anything you'd like to share?
I think it's an exciting list. We tried to pick kind of diverse women in different sectors. So we have one woman who kind of pioneered skateboarding, like a female skateboarder in Santa Cruz. Her name's Judy Oyama. We're highlighting a younger person, Abby Mustafa, who is a local artist who also helped organize the Black Lives Matter mural. And then we have people like Maria Elena de la Garza, who has spent countless years working in the nonprofit sector, helping make positive changes in the community. So I'm excited for people to reread their stories, even though we've already written about them, but to highlight these women.
The women that you're talking about, the 15, those are women that are still living?
Yes.
Are you also featuring some women from the past?
We are, yes. Jessie is also on our team, Jessie Duran, and she's the archivist for the Santa Cruz Museum of Art and History. And she's collected a list of women from the past in Santa Cruz. And so you can come and see who those women are at the event. They'll also be on little trading cards that you can come and take a look at. if you come visit the event on March 28th.
So you're excited and you're inspiring both women who haven't been heard and women who are growing to be heard, because they'll be at the event and get inspired by all of this incredible activity that you're doing. So you mentioned on your team, it's you, Stephanie, it's you, Jamie, and Jessie. Any other people on your team?
Yeah, we're lucky enough to also have Tawny Henningsen, who works at the Santa Cruz MA as their event coordinator. And then also we have Shannon Sullivan, who works at Trick or Treat Studios, which is a local company, and she is a specialist in board games. And so she is helping us to bring the HERStory board game to the event. So that will be part of the event as well.
What is the board game?
So the HERStory board game, in the game you act as an author, collecting the stories of women of note from history. And each woman has their own sort of trading card that has information about them, an image of them, their name, and then some facts about them on the back. And you work to try to gather, I think it's 8 stories, to put them together in a book about HERStory. And the first person to collect 8 is the winner, and then they can share a little bit about their favorite woman that they learned about.
It's amazing.
Yeah.
I'm trying to envision how that board game would work. There's a whole lot of people in the room. Can everybody play at the same time?
I think it's best if it's played in groups of 3 to 5.
Okay.
So what we'll be doing at the event on March 28th is in the garden room of the MA, if you've ever been there. That's the one that's adjacent to the garden. There'll be 8 to 10 tables with copies of the game out, and then volunteers to help walk you through getting started. And then you're welcome to bring your friends and sit down and play a little bit of HERStory.
That's great.
Yeah.
I think you need more tables. I think there's going to be more people who want to play.
Well, there will be other activities as well.
Okay, so let's talk about other activities that you've planned for the celebration.
Like I said, Lookout made a list of 15 women, but we know that each person has someone in their life or someone who inspires them. We wanted to provide an opportunity for people in the community, people who come to the event, to be able to share the stories of notable women in their life. So we are going to have an art activity where people can share the stories of the people in their lives. One way they can do that is by making their own trading card with their person and maybe even use it in the game if they wanted to. Or we're also going to have easier one that's maybe less intimidating, where you can write someone's name on a ribbon that you admire or someone that inspires you and then hang it on a installation.
So those are 2 activities. Any other activities?
Yeah, actually, the Santa Cruz Public Library is also going to be coming and doing a read aloud. The Santa Cruz Public Library has a great collection also of women's history, and in particular, women in Santa Cruz. And they also do amazing work with incarcerated women in our county. So the public library is another one of the organizations that will be tabling at the event. They'll have more information about the work that they do with women across our region. I'm excited. They just shared with me today that they're going to be bringing collections of poems that have been written by incarcerated women in Santa Cruz County, and then also just sharing other resources that are accessible.
When I go into the public library downtown, day 1, March 1, they already had all kinds of activities and books and information out. They're so good.
They're so good. And I feel like that's been one of the coolest things about organizing this idea, is that as we've reached out to various organizations across Santa Cruz, it's been cool to see the women who are behind the scenes and a lot of our public-facing orgs, and just how excited everybody is about celebrating women that they know and sharing their own contributions.
You mentioned a couple of activities during the celebration on March 28th. Has anything already taken place before?
Yeah, so we know that it might not be possible for everyone to come to the event on the 28th, and we wanted to open it up to the community to collect stories beforehand. So we have what's called a Padlet. It's sort of like a digital bulletin board that's available for anyone in the community to share a story about a woman or 2 or 3 that has inspired them in some way. And you can access that Padlet by going to sccoe.link/share your story. No spaces, all lowercase. And you can either write a poem or a little note or a letter or a story about a woman. And we've already collected some. So there have been some that have been submitted by the community. And then I was also lucky enough to go into a third grade classroom at Del Mar Elementary School. And so we wrote haikus about women that have touched our lives. And so you'll see when you visit that site that there's also a fair number of haikus that have been added. Yeah.
A lot of creativity, right?
Yeah.
Any video or recordings that people can send in?
That's one of the reasons why I love Padlet is it's really flexible. You could record your voice. You could type as what most people have been doing, but you can also add a photograph or record a video. So that's an option. Really any format that works for you.
Listeners, if you have some spare time, want to share about your favorite women, past or present or future, go to sccoe.link/share your story and see what you can do and get prepared for March 28th. So I'm going to take a little break. And after the break, if you at home would like to call in, both Jamie and Stephanie would be interested in what you have to say. But I want to remind you right now that you're listening to Exploring Santa Cruz on KSQD Santa Cruz and KSQT Prunedale. And we are talking about HERStory, Notable Women in Santa Cruz Past, Present, and Future. And there'll be a fantastic celebration. It sounds like it. You're giving me lots of inspiration here. March 28th, and it's at the Ma from 5:30 to 8. Let's continue to talk. And listeners, the phone number is 831-900-5773. And we're standing by while we continue talking. Laura, our wonderful office assistant, will take your phone call and patch you through to the studio here. Celebration of women. What does it do you personally?
I think it's really important. Before I took my role at the County Office of Education, I was a classroom teacher. I taught third grade, and part of the curriculum in third grade is that you focus on your community, and that can be really challenging because when you're relying on a textbook to provide the content and the curriculum for sharing the history of your community, it's not always really honed in on what the history of your community is. And so I saw a need for collecting the stories and also for showing the students that their own stories were as important in terms of sharing the history of our community. So I think it is important. I think sometimes the contributions of women maybe fall to the backside or haven't been highlighted. And so it is really affirming to really bring those forward and to just shine a light on all the things that they've done for Santa Cruz.
Yeah.
I think personally, I feel really lucky to have spent a lot of time with my mom and both of my grandmothers growing up. And all three of them would do art projects with me, really push my confidence and that you can do anything you want to do. And then my first job in Santa Cruz, I had a young female boss who was really proving to people like, we can do this, we can be out here, we can do all this. I think it's really inspiring to see role models in other people. It's really important when you're young too to get that confidence from people, and to see women doing remarkable things really shows you I can do that too, and paves the way for other people to do the same thing. So I think highlighting these women, we're going to have 3 speakers at the event as well who are also going to talk about their experiences. And I think even just celebrating together is going to be fantastic for the future.
I remember when I was a kid, a little longer ago than you, I was cheering for the first women bus driver and trolley driver. It was so inspiring. Not necessarily I wanted to do that, but it gave me encouragement to do whatever I thought I could do. And I think that's what you're doing. You give recognition to women presently doing things, but also women who could be doing things, but are not because they think they're not worth it. And especially, of course, the young people, you're going to give a good role model. And doing games, I just love games. So I want to sit at one of those tables and do the card game.
We'll save a spot for you, Matilda.
Oh, that is wonderful. That is wonderful. I want to thank you again for putting this together. And if I understand you talking about the Padlet, a digital bulletin board, you said, people can submit pictures, written text, record their voice, or video message, especially about women in their lives who have made an impact. And so they will both be on display, right?
That's correct. Yeah. So they'll be available for other people in the community to see the month of March. When you visit the Padlet, you'll be greeted by the stories that are already there. And then they'll also be on display at the event on March 28th.
And after the event, they'll still be available?
Yeah, they will. Yeah, we are not going to take them down. We're going to keep collecting because we're hoping that it continues.
Listeners, if you want to reach our guest, Stephanie's contact information is Sumarna at santacruzcoe.org. All one word, santacruzcoe.org. Sumarna. And we have a phone call?
I heard you two words, sharing stories, and I believe that we are lacking a bit in how to share those stories. Your communication of your story might be different in English versus Spanish or French or whatever other language.
That's correct. Do you accept stories in any language?
Yeah, and thanks. That's such a great point. There is no limit or restrictions on what language your stories can be submitted in. So you can submit them in Spanish and English and Japanese, whatever language you would like to. And I love your idea of encouraging students to learn another language because it's true. Like, I love looking up the words that are very specific to a particular language that only exist in that one language. And so it is true that when you learn other languages, you learn new ways to communicate your ideas and even to think about things differently based on that language.
So, caller, thank you so much for your question.
Okay.
We take it from here. Thank you so much. And I hope we'll see you on March 28th.
Okay. Thank
Bye-bye.
you. Bye-bye.
Other languages. Perfect. That was a good question.
That was a good question. Of course, none of those words that I know are coming to my mind at the moment, but have you seen those? It's like the description of the smell right after the first rain, and there's like a particular word for it in a certain
Well, I
language.
remember reading this book. It was actually a detective story, but there were, I don't know how many, I think 10 or 12 words for snow. And that was, of course, in the areas where there's a lot of snow. And so you can imagine where there is a lot of dry lands in the desert, they'll probably have words that we have never heard of and descriptions, very fine descriptions. And I think that's why languages such as French and Spanish are very poetic and very descriptive. Could you share some community submissions, Stephanie, that you already received?
We have one that really stood out to me, and it was submitted. I think it's interesting, Jamie, when she's sharing who made an impact, like her mom and her grandmother came forward. So this is one that someone submitted about their own mother. The woman's name is Ann Geisler. It's quite long, so I'll read just a few little snippets of it. But my mom, Ann, is a super woman to me. She grew up in a family of 9 children, raised by another phenomenal woman and loving husband. She is now in full grandma mode and is caring for 1 or more grandchildren several days each week. She still works and juggles it all while staying positive, energetic, kind, open to change, and taking care of her own mind and body. Quietly thinking, doing, caring all the time. Never broadcasting all that she does. I know that there are many women like her that are quietly holding families and the world together through their love and care. Thank you, Mom, and all the other superwomen, too.
So poignant.
Yeah.
You have one more?
I do, yeah. So here's another one that was shared about Aunt Polly. So it says, when I was born into my family, one of the biggest blessings I received is to get to have Christine Vanderbunt as my Aunt Polly. She is the person I think of when I hear the word kindness. She embodies a type of kindness that is felt, not seen. It is a feeling of calmness and safety in her presence. It is her never judging, listening ear and the small gestures of affection and the compassionate perspective she brings to the world. I'm so grateful to be her niece and to have her as a role model.
Amazing. I started to say how people can contact you, Stephanie, and we gave your email address. Let's also give your phone number, which is?
My phone number is 831-466-5810.
Great. And Jamie can be reached at?
My email is Jamie, Jamie, at lookoutlocal.com. Or you can reach me on my phone at 916-521-2228.
Thank you. We have a few moments for some final thoughts, which I'm sure you have. Jamie, why don't you start?
Sure. I am really excited to be doing this event with Stephanie and with the Ma. I used to work at the museum before I worked at Lookout Santa Cruz, and so this is exciting to do another event there. I think personally, being able to celebrate local women, I always had kind of these like female heroes like Georgia O'Keeffe or Amelia Earhart, or these people that seemed not real but still exciting and inspiring. And when I came to Santa Cruz, being able to meet women in real life who have made a difference, and there will be all these types of women at this event, and it makes it feel like you can make a real change in your community by seeing all these women. So I'm just excited to be part of it. I hope you all RSVP to this event on March 28th.
How would they do that?
We have an event site that you can visit. So it's a website, and there's a link to reserve your spot. Because although the event is free, there is a capacity limit. So we would love for most people to RSVP so we can make sure to get them in.
So give us the website.
It's sccoe.link/HERStory.
Okay, HERStory, one word. sccoe.link/HERStory. HERStory. Are you nervous?
Not nervous. I'm more excited. Yeah.
I knew that's what you're going to say.
Yeah.
So what else would you like to share?
I feel like just echoing what Jamie said. And also, I think what has stood out to me as we've started to collect stories is I, too, growing up, learned about Georgia O'Keeffe and Amelia Earhart and sort of idolized them. But also, it's interesting to hear that when you ask someone to share a story, they often start with someone closest to them, like their mom or their grandmother. Right. Or their aunt. And so I think it's really inspiring to hear how some of the things that might be undervalued, like care work, make the biggest impact. And so it's like wherever you are and whoever you're close to, you can make an impact. And then also you can let people know the impact that they made on your life. So I invite you all to do that by joining the Padlet and sharing your story.
I was an athlete, and the person that stood out to me was Wilma Rudolph. And not only because of her success, but she was quite ill when she was a kid. And I had struggles with my health. And she was so inspiring, just never gave up. It strengthens your reserves, and you give it you all. And I actually think that that's what the two of you are doing right now to put this together, because I know you've been thinking about this for quite some time, isn't it?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
How many years have you been thinking about this?
I think since last March, so probably 1 year.
1 year. And this is going to be an annual thing, you think?
Yes, we're hoping, yeah.
You're planning.
We're planning, yeah.
Right?
Yes, definitely.
Okay, good. Well, listeners, the time is up, but you know the way to communicate with Sumarna at santacruzcoe.org for email, and Jamie at lookoutlocal.com. And you've been listening to Exploring Santa Cruz, and our topic was
the HERStories.
Don't forget, March 28th at the Ma.